there. And Gary and Samantha are here somewhere. Gary's helped us out with our mics. Yay, thanks, Gary. And so tonight we're going to be hearing from Sandy. She's going to share with us about ketamine and her ketamine clinic practice. And she brought one of her clients with, who's going to share his personal story as well. I'll do a couple announcements and stuff towards the end. And then also we want to do some Q&A, so if you guys have any questions or anything throughout, maybe just kind of raise your hand or speak up. We're happy to make this interactive and something that's of value for you guys. And then, like I said, towards the end, we'll share a few more announcements about some exciting stuff that we have coming up with the Psychedelic Society. So with that, I would like to bring up Sandy. She is the owner of the inLIGHTen Wellness Ketamine Clinic, Sandy Indermule, and she's going to share with us a little bit about herself, maybe how she kind of got into this world, her background a little bit about ketamine itself, since some of you probably know what that is and some of you may not. There's different things about ketamine, and then maybe also a little bit about their clinic and kind of how they run their practice and what might be a little similar with some of the other ketamine clinics in the valley and across the nation, and then some things you might do a little different. And then, like I said, if there's any questions or comments you guys have as we move through, please feel free to let us know. So without further ado, please welcome Sandy.
I was thinking I would start off tonight with a little 90s hip hop, Salt and Pepper. Let's talk about ketamine. Let's talk about you and me. But I'm not a great singer, but I did anyway, so I'm proud of myself. Welcome. Thank you so much for showing up, and I'm excited to share about me and what we do at our space, and then bring in a little love from one of my beloved clients. Sandy Indermule. I'm a MD physician, trained in emergency medicine. I was working in the emergency department at Chandler Regional in Mercy Gilbert for 15 years. 5 of that, I was medical director and trauma liaison for level 1 trauma center, one of the busiest in the valley. Loved it. It was great. It was exciting. There was lots of things to do. There was lots of trauma. There was lots of sick things. And the sicker the better. I was like, yeah, bring it on. Mangled stuff, please. Yes. Super sick. Gotta think fast. That's my jam. Always wanted to help people heal, and then slowly over time it's like, wow, am I really making a difference? I don't know. And then my husband and I started doing our own healing work with psilocybin. My husband decided he was going to grow psilocybin mushrooms in my closet. I'm like, I'm medical director of an ER group. My husband is growing mushrooms in my closet. He's going to jail. I'm going to jail. Oh my God, what is happening? But yet I had trust. I had trust in the universe that there was a plan in all of this. So one night he did 4 grams, didn't really get much. And then one night he did 6 grams and didn't get much. So he's like, fuck it, 10 grams. And I'm a sober sitter. And I'm like, okay, I'm having some wine, eating some dinner. And he's like running around the house like in this crazy state. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And he's like, you gotta take 2 chocolates. And I'm like, I had wine, I'm eating dinner, I'm not ready. He's like, you'll never be ready. I'm like, okay, I'm still not ready. He's like, your grandmother is telling me to tell you to take 2 chocolates. And I'm like, all right, if grandma says, I'm gonna do it. And of course she did, so I'm like, all right, I took 2 chocolates. Man, what a night. My entire life right in front of me, like, this made sense, this made sense, this made sense. Everything just laid out in front of me totally made sense. So from that night on, we started our healing journey. Led us to our own figuring out psilocybin by ourselves, which, not the best idea, but we did it. It was crazy. And then we did an ayahuasca ceremony, and we learned the value of ceremony, of ritual, of reverence for the medicine and the process, and how to help people integrate. And from then we just kind of blossomed, and I was like, okay, well, I think my ER career is over now. I'm going to help people heal from a deep core wound level. So as a physician, I can give ketamine, it's legal. I have a license. So did our ketamine experience, and super beautiful, profound medicine. So just one day I was like, all right, I'm going to do this training. So I did this shamanic breathwork training up in Sedona for 2.5 weeks after came back from his ayahuasca journey. told him, you know what, I'm gonna take a month or two off and then I'll just come back part-time as I start to open my own business. And after that training, I was like, fuck, I can't go back. Like, that's not my path anymore. So I just honored my calling and opened a business, and we've been open since July, last year? Yeah, year before actually, 2022. So yeah, so now I get to heal people in a deep and profound and meaningful way, and it's been super rewarding. And we're a little different than most because we do bring in the ceremony and the reverence for the medicine, for the process, for the integration. We do intramuscular, which is different than IV, so way less clinical. And there may be some people in the audience who've had both ways, and he may or may not share with anyone if they want to ask him the difference. But totally different experience. And we also hold the space very safe. And I've done my own deep shadow work, and so I can go to the deep shadow with you if you need to go there. If you need to rip your pants off, you rip your pants off. If you need to punch the air, you punch the air. If you need to scream obscenities, you scream obscenities, and I will be right there with you, and I won't freak out about any of it. I'll just be like, we're good? Okay, we're good. If you need a hand, I got your hand. Whatever you need, I'm there for it. So it's been an honor. We do it with integration. We do all our own integration coaching. So we do a prep beforehand. A few days after, we do a little, how did that work? What came through? How do we integrate that into your everyday life? And we're in the room with you the entire time. So we're not putting an IV in you and leaving you to figure it out on your own. We're like, okay, we're in here with you. And then after, like, okay, what came up? What does that mean to you? How did that feel? What did that bring up? You need to cry? Let's cry. If you need to scream into a pillow, let's scream into a pillow. Whatever you need, we're there for it. And we love our clients. Absolutely, I can say that 100% certainty that I don't just say the words, I actually mean the words. And the clients will feel it, and you'll hear from the client later. There may have been 1 or 2 sessions, and then we were telling each other we loved each other. So, not many places do that. And we had dinner together tonight before we came, so not many places do that either. I have a cell phone. If you need me on the weekends, if you need me on the holidays, you got me. I'm there. This is my life. This is what I do. This is my purpose. I don't shut it off at business hours. So, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I don't know. Did that do a good job?
Yeah.
Of me and what we do.
Glad you're here. Glad you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of maybe double click on a few things that you mentioned there that I think could be interesting for people here. Maybe diving in a little bit more into let's start with the preparation process. You said you guys kind of take a little bit of a different approach there. So what does kind of maybe some preparation look like in terms of people preparing to go for, or maybe if we want to take a step back, maybe like who are kind of good or maybe not good candidates for ketamine? Maybe some of the mechanisms of action, that kind of thing. Maybe understanding some contraindications, and then maybe diving into the process a little bit more.
Yeah. So ketamine is technically a dissociative anesthetic. So created back in the 50s, 60s, kind of a derivative of PCP. They saw the actual healing benefits of PCP, but then they saw the side effects, and they're like, oh, that's not so helpful. So let's create something a little different with a little less of those, side effects. So here came ketamine. It attaches to the NMDA receptor, which is different than most of the classic psychedelics, which work on serotonin and dopamine and those pathways. And what it does is it stimulates our excitatory neurotransmitter called glutamate in certain areas of the brain, and it turns it off in other areas of the brain. So the areas of the brain that it stimulates, it helps produce new neural networks, new neurons, new connections between neurons that weren't talking before. And then it shuts off and dims the default mode network, which is that obsessive, ruminating thought pattern that we have that tells us we're not good enough, that we can't do that the world is out to get us. It kind of slows that down and gives us an opportunity to think in new ways. They used it kind of in the Vietnam War too, because ketamine is such a beautifully safe anesthetic that it doesn't drop your heart rate, it doesn't drop your blood pressure, you still breathe. So instead of morphine and all these other things that make you maybe stop breathing, they're giving ketamine. It was beautifully, beautifully helpful. And then they were coming back, and those guys weren't getting PTSD like the other people were. So they're like, oh, let's investigate this a little bit more. So then they did all the studies that show it helps with depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, all the things. It doesn't interact with many medicines, so you can be on whatever psych meds you've been on, and we're not going to take you off of them. We're going to keep you on them, and we're going to give you your ketamine. And you're going to maybe eventually come off of those other psych meds, maybe not, doesn't matter. The thing is, we don't have to wait for anything. We can just give it to you. There's very few contraindications. One, like all psychedelics, is schizophrenia or psychosis. It could, in theory, make that worse. Same thing with uncontrolled mania in the bipolar phase. So those two are the things that are, kind of contraindications. If you have super high uncontrolled blood pressure, super high thyroid that hasn't been treated, those kind of things, aneurysms in your brain or something, not a great idea because it will raise your blood pressure temporarily. So those are the things. But really, any mental health disorder that people are struggling with, or if you just want to expand your mind, expand your awareness, have a deeper spiritual connection, those are all great things to, seek out ketamine for. Then we were going next.
Yeah, so let me add something there,
Yeah.
because I think that's good to kind of share with people, different things it can be useful for. You talked about anxiety, depression, PTSD. I think another major common thing that I've heard, and I don't know how much you guys deal with it there, but suicidality or thoughts of suicidality. I've heard a lot of individuals use ketamine as kind of a stopgap measure to really interrupt that process of danger zone for humans, right? We're getting to the place where we're really seriously considering it, and I've had a number of people tell me stories that that's really done well. So maybe you want to, I know that's a common and also unspoken thing that maybe some people in this room even tonight are dealing with. So maybe just click on that for a second.
Yeah. Ketamine actually is one of the only medicines that will literally stop that suicidal ideation thought pattern in its tracks with one treatment. Yes, you're still going to have depression. Yes, you still got to work through some stuff, but it's going to at least turn that off and give you that little glimmer of hope, that little perspective of, oh, I don't have to think about killing myself every single second of every single day. There's a different way of thinking. So it is the best medicine out there that we know of so far to just literally stop those thoughts in their tracks, to give you that time.
Yeah, and I think with that too, right, sometimes, I don't know if any of you have had the similar experience that I've had in life as a human, but sometimes those thoughts can kind of take up all of our capacity, right? Where we really don't feel like we have a lot of excess energy, mental capacity, fortitude, whatever it is, to deal with the difficulty of whatever's causing us to think about ending life, and also heal ourselves and move forward or solve our problems, right? And so I think maybe part of what you're alluding to there is taking a temporary break, a temporary reprieve from that heavy taxation on our system, giving us some opportunity to kind of handle some of the challenges that are in front of us, right? I think that's really a beautiful thing that medicine can do. So then maybe let's shift gears to preparation. What do you guys kind of do in terms of preparation? What does that look like?
Well, first of all, the first meeting is with me to determine if you're the appropriate candidate, which I haven't turned anyone away yet, so everyone seems to be an appropriate candidate. But actually, we already start to get into, what are you struggling with? Tell me about your life. Tell me about the things that you've been working on. And then, what are your intentions? Why are you here? What do you want to get out of this? So we already kind of dig into that a little bit, and then I prepare you what to expect from a psychedelic journey. Have you ever had one before? No. Okay. Here's kind of some things that we recommend, Don't watch, social media. Don't watch the news. Don't do all these things that are going to trigger you before your treatment, because there's a lot of shit out there, and we're working on you and what you need to heal, not what the world needs to heal. Maybe we recommend a gratitude practice, once a day, before you go to bed, 1, 2, maybe 3 things you're grateful for, so that we already start to shift your perspective instead of always looking at the negative. What positive happened to me today? I have a roof over my head. Amazing. I am grateful for that, because I may not, So we kind of do that stuff, little tiny things like that. Of course, all the stuff, don't eat and drink, 4 hours before all this stuff, we go through all that stuff. And then after that, you're going to have an hour integration call with your coach before you even come in for the medicine. And that's going to get another layer deeper into what we already kind of opened up. We're going to dig deeper into those struggles. What is that struggle? What is your biggest struggle right now? Okay, when did this start? What other layers are underneath that? So we're already going to kind of probe into that and really help you get your intentions set, because setting your intentions for what you want to get out of the journey is super powerful and super important. It may not come in the way that you think it will come, but it'll eventually get there, just trusting in the medicine. And then again, we continue to prepare you what to expect in a psychedelic journey, how to approach surrender, how to approach, don't worry about controlling anything, and don't have to make sense of everything. Like all those things would kind of prepare you ahead of time to kind of get into that space. So, and then if there's family members who have questions, please, like I give everyone my cell phone number. If you have a question, if your wife has a question, if your daughter, if someone has a question, like I want to answer everyone's questions, because we don't need someone being the person that's holding you back from getting the best out of your treatment. If they have a question, I want to answer it for them too, because then they're going to be putting their negative energy on your treatment if their answers aren't met. So it's like a full circle kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really helpful. I know that's not always the case with all of the ketamine clinics are not necessarily doing that amount of preparatory work up front to really get the person prepared and to get to know them too. I think that's part of it, right? I know, with other ceremonial work and stuff, it's really important to feel safe and a little bit connected with those that are holding space with us. And you guys are putting in some work to build that trust and that safety, and I think that's really important, both between you and the client, but I think also maybe more importantly, the client within themselves, right? For us to feel safe in this space to explore whatever it is going on with us, which sometimes that can, might sound like an odd thing, but sometimes we cannot feel safe with the stuff inside of us, right? Especially not knowing what's going to come up. I mean, sometimes you hear some crazy stories out there about psychedelic experiences, and it's like, oh boy, what's going to happen, right? And so I think doing that work up front is really value added.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people are like, oh my God, I'm afraid of what I might say. I don't care what you say. Like, I'm not going to judge you for it. Like, yeah, and you're not going to know what you're saying in the moment because you don't even know if you're talking. You may be talking and think you're not talking, or you're talking. Yeah. So, yeah, don't worry about it. But yeah, I mean, just giving them that sense of non-judgment, I think is so important, because I'm sure there's many therapists and other people out there who you tell them, what you did in your past, and they're automatically like, oh, you did what? And I'm like, oh, okay, tell me more. Like, how did that make you feel,
So, okay, we got them through the checkpoints, everyone's safe, we've done some preparatory work, we've connected with the coach, so now we're probably looking more kind of day of the experience, kind of walk us through what that might look like a little bit.
Yeah, so we have your person bring you in, drop you off for your treatment, and then we ask them to leave. Especially if it's a significant other, like we have stuff, we have energy. Even if they're super supportive, like we don't need their energy in your space, and you don't need to feel that they're worried about you while you're in the space, or you're afraid to really go there because you're afraid of what you might say or what might come out if your person's in there. So we lovingly just ask them, go shopping, go have some food, go do what you need to do, and they're taken care of. We're good. So they say their goodbyes, we get them in, sit them in the chair, we ask them how they've been doing, kind of check in, what's been coming up, anything new. Then we ask, what are your intentions, and we actually give them a journal that we have them bring back every time so that we can write in it for them. So we write, the date, the ketamine number, okay, what's the scent you choose, because you gotta choose a scent. We have aromatherapy, so you all get to choose which one. I have too many sometimes because they're like, oh my God, it's overwhelming, I can't choose. You choose for me. But yeah, so we choose that, we write their intention down, and then we do a little oracle card. We have a beautiful deck that was created by a lovely woman in Sedona. She passed away, but her love and her energy is in that deck, and it's usually one word, but it's amazing how many times the word that they pull is exactly the word that was their intention, like gratitude. What the fuck? That was the word I just said, gratitude, and that's the card I pulled? Did you stack the deck? No, that's divine intervention is what you needed today. So then we talk about, okay, what does that word mean to you? Like, how is that coming up for you today? And then we take the vial of ketamine and we offer it to them to hold it, to put their love, their prayer, their gratitude, their intention into the medicine. And then we do the same. We get them nice and cozy in their zero gravity reclining chair. We have weighted blankets, regular blankets. It has heat functions, vibrating functions, whatever you need, comfort. We have the eye mask that we provide for them. Very beautiful, lovely, and comfortable. So they have that on, and then we do a little noise-canceling headphones with a music playlist that I curate. I curate all of our playlists, and I intuitively decide what playlist is needed for that journey. And it's amazing how many times it works out so perfectly. So then, we give a little shot on the arm. We tell them it's going to be 3 to 5 minutes. You're going to be in your medicine space. You're going to come out. And then you're going to tell me that you're ready for a second shot. We're going to give you a second shot. You go back in your medicine space. Again, yeah, we're sitting there. If you talk, if you say stuff, sometimes we're writing frantically to try to keep up with what you're saying. And sometimes there's not a word said, and it's just motions or not even a movement. But we're going to capture all of that. If you need anything during the journey, a hand, hey, put out your hand. I'll hold your hand. I've held many hands. And sometimes it's like, they're struggling, and we ask them ahead of time, is it okay if I just give you a little support if you need it? Yeah, of course, 100%. So we do that. After the medicine wears off, then we talk. Okay, what came up? What did you see? What did you feel? What experiences did you have? And we try to make sense of it, and then we just really write everything down so that they can reflect on it later, because sometimes you kind of miss little pieces, parts. So beautiful journey, we talk about it, your person comes, they pick you up, and then I send you the playlist after so that you can take time later to have a meditative time where you're like, shit, I want to remember the journey. So playlist, write stuff down, have your journal next to you in bed, having a dream, write it down. So kind of help them process all of that in that space. And then 2 or 3 days later, you've had time to process, more stuff has come up, and then you're going to have another call with your coach, and they're going to dig in deeper into those layers of things that came up. So it's kind of a full process.
Cool. So a couple of questions on kind of more of the experience itself. You mentioned kind of some of the supportive things, the aromatherapy, the weighted blanket, some of that stuff. What was the reason behind some of that stuff versus just here's a chair, sit down, do your thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you know, when you're in your most vulnerable state and you're digging into your deep fucking shadows, you want your body to be comfortable. You want to feel comfortable. You want to feel safe. And some people during their journey, their sense of smell is super heightened. So you want to pick a scent that's going to be appealing to you, that you're going to enjoy. Same thing with the music. Like, as many of you probably know, in psychedelic journeys, music is profoundly important to help guide you through the journey and take you into the spaces you need to go. The weighted blankets, some people just need that comfort, that coziness, that feeling grounded, and the pillow too. Like, sometimes it's like the pillow is your punching bag, or the pillow is your cuddle muffin, or whatever it needs to be at the moment. Like, you need to have all those things to help guide you through the journey in a more comfortable, safe way.
Yeah, and I think too, like with the playlist, sounds like you share that with your clients, and then the aromatherapy thing, those are in journal too. All that stuff is a really great way to like kind of re-put the mind or the body back in that at a later state, right? Sense, strongest sense of memory, all that stuff, right? You can kind of reactivate some of that down the road, and that's really beautiful too.
Exactly. Especially there are some people who, like, the only time they felt peace for as long as they can remember is in the ketamine space. So if you give them the playlist that they got to experience this peace, and they play it again, you're like, you can bring this back to your daily reality. Just really tap into it, because you experienced it. It was real, it was there. So let me give you some tools to bring it back, because you're still struggling, but you can bring this piece back into your daily life.
So let's kind of get more to the immigration piece. So you mentioned generally 2 shots. Is everyone doing 2 shots? What's the reason for that over 1? And then also maybe kind of length of time that an individual is there too. I'd be curious.
Yeah, it's usually about 2 hours. So the talk beforehand. Usually our goal is to keep you in the medicine about an hour. That's roughly what the IV people do, is their infusions over an hour. 1 shot lasts most people about 30 minutes. So that's why we give 2. Some people, 50 minutes, they're in 1 shot, they're good. Or some people, it's like, fuck, I got everything I needed in 1 shot. I'm good, I don't need a second shot. It was only 30 minutes, but I'm good. We're happy here. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. We always check in too, like, you good? You want another shot? Or, hey, it's been 45 minutes. We're good with 1 today.
And then from there, it sounds like going more into the integration phase. What is that? Because I know for a lot of individuals, ketamine isn't necessarily a one and done. So kind of thinking more about like, okay, what does it look like post the first ceremony, I guess, and then more of a, I don't know, overall commitment with you guys that would be on average, something like that.
Yeah, 1 is just kind of like getting used to the medicine, getting familiar with the medicine. I mean, you may have some really profound stuff, but it may just be, hey, this is good, this is a good space to be, you're here, you're happy, we can do this. And then, so 3 is our minimum. We don't want to just do 1 because again, it's not enough. So 3 is the minimum, but 6 is usually going to be better. And we separate them by about a week, maybe more. Depends on what comes up during the journey. A lot of the places cram 3 in 1 week or 2 in 1 week. That's a lot, especially if you have a lot of really deep emotional stuff coming up and you've barely had time to process it. And now you're going in for another journey and you're like, well, shit, now we've got all this other shit to process. That's why we take at least a week. Some people are like, dude, that was heavy. I need another week. Perfect, great, we'll do another week. Need reschedule? Not a problem. So yeah, 3 to 6 is average to start with, and then, sometimes you need boosters, maybe 3 to 6 months down the road, you're like, fuck, some life shit has come through and I'm really struggling to process, so I just need a reboot. And we come back, you do a reboot, we do another coaching session after, and we kind of help you smooth sail a little bit easier.
So what does the typical integration process look like, other than what you've already shared? I mean, sounds like you've got some coaches that are working with individuals there, and I don't know, I'm just kind of curious to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we offer, it depends on the client, there may be certain podcasts or books or exercises that we'll recommend to the client and ask them to do those. And it's gonna be different for everyone. We also offer at our space, we have a nurse who does Reiki and shamanic Reiki and other energy work. And then myself and one of the other nurses, we host shamanic breathwork sessions as well. We do them once a month in the office. We can only fit 10 people in our space, but we do that once a month. And then you can also do private sessions with us too, or organize a group or whatever in the space. So we kind of add those other elements in. And again, we're recommending things like cold plunge. Like if you're really someone who struggles with being uncomfortable and don't recognize your own strength, well, let's go do a cold plunge, and then you'll recognize how fucking strong you are to sit in that thing for 2 minutes. It's really uncomfortable, but then after you're like, man, I'm a fucking rock star. I just did that for 2 minutes. I can do anything. So it's just adding all those little elements in that work really well.
Nice. So, I don't know, does anyone have any burning questions out there? We'll maybe take a few. Yeah, I'm sorry, you go first.
Yeah, for the neuroplasticity window, post-treatment, you said it's about 3 to 5 days?
So the neuroplasticity happens right away, and the peak is probably 3 to 5 days. Yeah. So yeah, neuroplasticity is the ability for new neural networks to be formed and to be created. And so even new neurons are being built inside your brain. And then again, they're communicating in a way that they weren't communicating before. So, 3 to 5 days can be a peak. However, if you continue to do the work and you continue to integrate and do other things, I mean, that can be a lifetime of change, so yeah.
And I think that's really something really important to highlight. It's an opportunity for new pathways to develop. It's not a guarantee that new pathways will be developed. If you go back to your same patterns of thinking and living and habits and the same people and places and everything that you've done, your body's very naturally going to form the same thought patterns it did before. And none of this is a panacea, right? It's no shot in the arm, no IV, no pill, no mushroom. None of that's going to magically change us and solve all our problems. There's a healthy amount of personal responsibility that we all have in that, and I think we all know that already, but still good to repeat that, I think.
Yeah, and we're always challenging people okay, when you get into your anxiety state, okay, recognize it, be aware of it. When you're in it, then you get to choose, do I feel the anxiety? Do I allow it in? Do I need to learn something from my anxiety? Okay, great. Anxiety, you're my teacher right now. And then I can also shift you, because I have an awareness now that I didn't have before, that my anxiety doesn't control me. I get to be the person who utilizes my anxiety to help me heal and to help me grow. So it's just little things like that, changing awareness, catching them on their language. Yeah, man, I always do this. Well, yeah, if you say I always do this, you're always going to do that. So we try to, just bring awareness to that word always. Be very careful what you say after the word always, because you're bringing that you're continuing that pattern. So let's just shift that. So little things like that, we try to help people catch. And that's where the neuroplasticity comes, because you're literally changing the words you're using.
Beautiful. Any other questions?
Yeah, just curious about the different ways of administering IV versus shot. Can you explain that and pros and cons of each and why you chose one?
Yeah, so they did the studies on IV, so that's why most people do it that way. It's just because that's the way the studies were done. It doesn't mean it works any better. So 98% bioavailability in the IV versus 95% in the shot. So it's just a matter of how it gets into your bloodstream and how quickly. However, it's the same medicine acting on the same receptors in the same way in your brain. So there's really not much of a difference other than with the IV, it's a slow infusion. So oftentimes you have a little more anxiety or a little more ability to try to control the journey or to stay grounded instead of allowing yourself to surrender, because it's kind of slow. And some of the places even are like, oh, if it gets too uncomfortable, let's slow it down. Well, that's where we want to get, it's uncomfortable, because that's where the healing and the growth occur. So with the shot, 3 to 5 minutes, there's no holds bar. You're in there, you're in the medicine space, and you're there for 30 minutes roughly. So we like it for that reason, but also it is less clinical. With the IV, you have this thing stuck in your arm, and you're not free to move around the cabin or punch things or tear your clothes off or whatever you need to do. And then you're not hooked up to monitors and those kind of things too. Spravato is going to be it's different dosing, right? So it's going to get in a little different. It's not going to last the same amount of time. It's going to be a kind of a lower therapeutic window, and you're not necessarily going to always get into that psychedelic space where the real healing occurs. It has its benefits, absolutely, 100%. It can help with chronic pain and things like that, especially with cancer and things like that. But as far as the therapeutic effect, it's not going to quite be as much as IV or IM.
And that's a nasal spray.
It's a nasal spray, thank you.
And
Spravato.
then there's
It's a
also
nasal
the-
spray, yeah.
And then there's like Mind Bloom and stuff. We're doing the.
They're doing the
pills,
oral,
essentially.
yep, the oral lozenges that, it's miserable. We did it for our training. And you're like, this thing has to stay in your mouth for like 15 minutes. You can't swallow. You have to like keep trying to swish it around in your mouth, and you're kind of starting to get into the medicine space, and they're like reminding you, oh, swish around, swish around. I'm like, I can hardly fucking move, and you want me to swish this around? And then you gotta switch. Yeah.
You're not
And
supposed to
then,
swallow?
well, no, you can. I did, and it was miserable. I was so sick for so many
I
hours,
didn't
like,
get sick at all.
oh, well,
Yeah, just
good
bite
for
it.
you. No, it was miserable for me. But it's just, and it's gonna be a longer, like, it's just not gonna be in that peak state for as long, and you're gonna have the side effects for a lot longer. It's possible, I mean, you're still gonna have a beautiful journey, don't get me wrong. It wasn't my thing, and that's why we choose not to use it, because it's longer and
Well, I
messier.
have a question. How's the come up? I mean, you said it's real fast, 3 to 5 minutes. I mean,
3 to
so
5
what-
minutes.
What is that like? I mean, what's that experience? I know it's different for everyone, but
Yeah,
I mean,
it's literally you like start to feel funny, you start to feel it in your body, and then all of a sudden it's like you took a rocket ship and you're in the stratosphere. So there's not
so
much
DMT,
time.
I got you. Okay.
Not quite as fast as CMT, not quite as fast, but it's definitely close to that, so yeah.
Okay.
I think there was maybe one more question over here, somewhere, James.
Yeah, I had a question. Congratulations for challenging the DEA. I'm sure they're visiting you often.
Never, actually.
Really?
No.
Wow. Double congratulations. But my question is, for the Journey or Space, have you considered recording, voice recording as a record for the individual, theirs only, so they can revisit that for their own integration?
Yeah, we do offer that to people if they choose to. It's on their device only. We don't want any part of it. But we've had some people video them too because they're very animated and they dance and run the orchestra and all the things. So it's really fun. We're like, you've got to record it at least once. I mean, you'll love it. So yeah, if people want to, we just have them sign a little confidentiality waiver. It's all good to go.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that's a good call. I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from with that. I think, in addition to that, for any of us, for our own edification, I think it's really important to, if you're ever trip sitting or even for yourself, I found it's really beneficial to use the specific language that we use, like back to ourselves, or in this case, if you have a coach, back to them, instead of saying something like, oh, you said that you were warm, right? No, you said you were hot, right? Like there's similar meaning, but also a subtle difference, right? And that subtle difference there might be a clue in that subtle difference. So, yeah, I think that's a fair point. Both the verbiage that we use and also the intonation, the energy behind it too, right? Like was there a soft energy? Was it really aggressive? Was there tears associated with it? Like what's the other meta information that we have going on there? So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, one second, I think there's maybe yeah, go ahead.
So are you using S-isomer or racetamic ketamine in the preparations? And have you seen any sort of clinical data in terms of the efficacy for what these are commonly employed for, like depression and the other things that we're looking at in the difference between the two?
They're the same. So an enantiomer is just it's like a mirror image of the molecule. And really the reason they do that is so that they can charge more money. for a new medicine that is exactly the same as the other medicine. So they don't work any different. The studies show that they're exactly the same. So we use the good old-fashioned generic racemic ketamine that works just wonders. So
Same.
Yeah, Sam?
The time I took ketamine, it was for the Lodgen version, and then because I tend to get nauseous quite easily, they gave me a shot to help alleviate that. Is that gonna be the same with the injection as well?
yeah, the injection causes less nausea, however, it still can. So we give Zofran is the nausea medicine that we give, and some people get the motion sickness, so we have meclizine as well, which is an anti-motion sickness medicine. So yeah, we offer those things too, Tylenol, Motrin, if you have a headache, those kind of things. So yeah, it's less nauseating, but it still can.
It's so.
Yeah,
And there's the benefit of working with a doctor.
exactly.
So, with the VA recently approving ketamine for treatment-resistant PTSD, I know the Phoenix VA, they don't have anything in-house, so everything's going out. Have you guys been able to work with any VA referred patients?
I just heard about this yesterday. So I'm like, oh, who do I talk to? So if you have anyone I can talk to get in and be a preferred provider, I am all signing up for that for sure, 100%.
We have a few veterans in the house tonight, so there might be a few that know some VA contacts. Yeah, please.
Similar question, how does it work with insurance? Is that something covered or?
So no, insurances are not covering it at this point. But what we do is we create what's called a super bill. So it's like an itemized, coding, billing thing that you can then send to your insurance company and see if they will cover you for part of it, if they'll reimburse part of it. So as a physician, I do an evaluation, they should reimburse you for an MD to sit with you and talk to you and go over your medical history and get your blood pressure and all that stuff. We give an injection and then we observe you and make sure that you're okay. So we are hoping that the insurance companies are paying. Not many of my clients have, I think, done the work to do that. And so I haven't gotten a lot of feedback as to if it's working or not, so.
I will say I've heard some people have had it covered successfully with insurance. I don't know how ubiquitous that is, so obviously individual cases apply, but do you want to just share about pricing? Is that just so people kind of have an idea of what they out of pocket?
So we do a package, our package of, we'll say 6 is the biggest package that we do. 6 treatments, it's 6 hours of coaching, which we break it down usually half an hour after each session, so you're gonna have some extra sessions. And then the intake and evaluation with me, all the stuff we provide. So for a regular person, it's $3,550 for that. We do first responder discounts, so it's $3,280. However, if someone comes to me and they're struggling and they don't have the finances, I don't fucking care. Come in, get the medicine, we'll worry about the money. We can do installments, and if you can't pay all of it, I don't care. I'm here to help people. I'm not here to, make a fortune. I'm just here to help people, so. Don't ever let that stop you from coming to me to get treatment.
Back there? Yep.
I have a question about the shamanic breath work. Is that something that you do independently of someone who's getting ketamine treatment from you? Can I go and do that for you?
Well, I don't know about you, but yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, on our website there is a link to the nurse who does the primary facilitation, and so you can schedule private stuff with her. She'll go to your home. You can schedule a small group in our office, totally fine too, and then I co-facilitate those. So yeah, anyone can do that. We have lots of people who are not doing ketamine who come and do our breath work. So yeah. You're welcome.
And shameless self-plug for the Arizona Psychedelic Society. Next Sunday, we're also doing breathwork at the Healing Tree, 2:30. So come on out. And Hoppe. So lots of opportunities for that. Love breathwork. It's a really great supportive practice. It's one easy way to get into an altered state of consciousness. Just getting high on your own supply kind of thing. So it's a really nice way to do it, and you're in full control, right? If something's going south, just return to normal breathing, and you're good to go. So. Let you guys do that?
Yeah, it's not always easy though, it's gotta work.
All work.
All work.
Another question, Chris?
So you've used the term psychedelic journey, and you used the term psychedelic specifically a number of times. And ketamine is one of those interesting medicines in this space that it gets grouped in. I mean, we talk about it all the time in the psychedelic society, but it's not quite a classical psychedelic. So do you think that it becomes a psychedelic journey because of you obviously do a lot of the way that you prepare, a lot of the different modalities around the ketamine. It seems like you put a lot of care and thought into that, which obviously kind of makes it more of that journey. So do you think that that's part of the reason why it is psychedelic in a way? I mean, I would consider it, I think it belongs in this group? Or do you think that the term and the concept of psychedelic is changing as we go into this new renaissance and this new age of different medicines?
Yeah, I mean, we could call it non-ordinary state of consciousness. We could call it whatever. It's a journey, right? It's a journey into your higher consciousness, into another realm that we don't really access in the 3D reality. So yes, it's not a classic psychedelic. However, I say a psychedelic-like state because it is similar to that, although it is different than a lot of the other psychedelics because it's often very abstract, which oftentimes in the others it's not quite as abstract. Again, it can be anything for anyone, and it'll be different from one journey to the next, just like you probably all know if you've done journeys with anything. But yes, to be clear, it's not a classic psychedelic, but
Yeah, and I didn't think it was wrong. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the way that
Yeah.
again, the evolution of the way we talk about some of these medicines,
Yeah.
I think is interesting. And it will be interesting as
Yeah.
as these things grow and become more in the mainstream.
Yeah, and I agree, like the energy and the love that you put into the medicine, you will get out of it. Like we literally perform Reiki on our supply of ketamine when it comes in. I do a clearing, I do a blessing. It sits on a geometric pattern in my safe, like all of this stuff, and then we put our intention into it. So yes, I think that's very important, that's part of it, why we get such beautiful, journeys out of it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think you bring a really interesting point there, though. I mean, that's part of why we're doing these sorts of events, right? And I'm glad you guys all came out. I mean, the landscape in our country is changing. The verbiage and the lingo and the conversation, hopefully, is changing, right? And so, and it's up to us to be involved in that and to kind of help guide and direct that, right? If we're ones that have taken the leap, so to speak, to explore these things in our own consciousness, then I think it's somewhat a responsibility on us to pick up that and not to guide it or direct it in any selfish sort of way, but just to help educate, right, and to kind of break down that stigma about some of these medicines and how they work and how they help people, and kind of drop some of the judgments and stuff that have been around them. So yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm going to toss one thing at you that I don't think you knew was coming, and I'm just curious how you swing at this, because I've had I talk to individuals all the time doing what I do with this sort of thing, and there seems to be some really great success with ketamine. Like I said, a lot of people use it really successfully for like active intervention with suicidality, PTSD. I know people that have had longer term success with it as well too, although compared with, and kind of teeing off that, compared with other maybe more classical psychedelic experiences, ketamine does seem to have a little bit of a harder time sticking. The positive effects are a little bit harder to sustain longer term, I would say. Not always, but a little bit more to that. So curious if you've seen that with your clients and that process, because obviously as we're sharing, maybe just to real quick highlight that. For those of you who aren't aware, there are lots of other ketamine clinics. Almost any MD can off-label a ketamine and do it for pain management and a whole bunch of other things. There's lots of ketamine clinics across the valley, and certainly most of them are not doing the process that Sandy and her team is doing, which is part of why I invited her here. But all that said, part of it could just be the difference in the process. Part of it could be the medicine itself. There could be other factors. Just curious your thoughts on that and what you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And the way I see it too, what tool works for you is not going to be the tool that works for someone else. What tools, and it's not just one tool, right? You have to use all the tools that resonate with you. And if you continue to follow your heart and you follow the tools that resonate with you, then you're going to find the path that's going to keep you on a path of continued growth and, evolution and change. Ketamine may be the only psychedelic-like tool that some people need. It was not for me. All the other teachers have been beautiful teachers for me. So we may have some clients who we may or may not have helped facilitate other journeys of other things that they might have been called to. And that worked for them, right? And they continue to come back every now and then for the ketamine, but it's also adding on, the breath work, or, maybe meditation is your thing, or maybe yoga is your thing. So we really try to work with each individual person as to what tools work best for you. And I never tell people, this is the path, and this is the only path, this is the way you have to go. No, my path is my path, your path is your path. So, yeah, but it's a beautiful question.
Any other questions anyone's got? Yeah?
Would you say that someone doing ketamine in a clinical setting could be at risk for getting addicted to it or having increased like addictive tendencies?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, you know, in the media these days, anything could be an addiction for anyone, right? The way we utilize it, you know, it's in such an intentional and a different way, and oftentimes you're going into the really deeply uncomfortable spaces. I don't know about you, but that's not my idea of fun on a Friday night, going into the shadow spaces with us. But yeah, I mean, some people are going to have addiction, and it's really getting to the root of, well, what is that? It's not the ketamine itself that's causing the addiction or making you more addicted. It's what are you not willing to heal? What are you not willing to look at that you keep having to go back into a space that you don't have to look at your shit? So that's where the magic is, but anything can, you know, you can get addicted to anything.
It's more of a psychological addiction than physiological addiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing to point out, and if you want to add anything to this, you can, maybe it's just a footnote, but in case everyone doesn't know, ketamine would be outside of the very, very gray area of like religious exemptions that some people have tried to do in the US. Ketamine would be the only legal, you know, in this case, air quotes, psychedelic that you can take. Everything else currently would still be a Schedule I narcotic in the United States anyway, so just also a footnote on that.
Footnote, I do not endorse any of those other things. I may have used them.
But I think that's important, right? For some people, that can be a non-starter for a wide variety of reasons, right? And so just as we're out there sharing, I think if that's, you know, if some people are having heart palpitations about, you know, stepping outside of the long arm of the law, ketamine is one that you can do. And just to reiterate what Sandy shared so eloquently earlier, it is also one of the unique ones that you can do quite safely because you are also generally with a doctor. And you don't have to, it's a very low contraindication, so I just want to repeat that because that's not true of every other psychedelic. Psilocybin and MDMA, a lot of them do have a fair amount of contraindications, specifically with psychiatric meds, basically, right? Which, you know, a lot of people are on antidepressants, that kind of stuff, and those don't always play well with some of the other psychedelics, so just something to consider for sure. Any other questions y'all have for Sandy before we bring Michael up? Hear his story? Yeah? Last one, maybe?
In terms of dosage, for everyone, they're obviously different. How do you usually do that? Is that an intuitive thing, or are you doing like a milligram per kilogram basis?
Yeah, it's a milligram per kilogram basis. It depends on your prior, you know, exposure to psychedelics or ketamine itself. So we start usually like in the 0.35 to 0.5 range, and then we kind of just go from there. Intuitively, like, okay, how much do I increase next time, or do I stay the same? Or yeah, it's based on how things went that session.
All right, Michael, come on up. Bring a chair with you. We're gonna have a little,
We're gonna put him in the
little
middle.
show and share here.
I'll grab it. Come on, Dog. Go sit. What do you want to do?
Yeah. So this beautiful being right here is Michael DeZeo, and this is Tonka, his therapy dog. He's just a beautiful soul, and I'm so grateful that he said yes to me to come and speak with us tonight. He's been with us for, gosh, when was your first treatment?
I think January 23.
So a year. Yeah, he's been with us for a year, and hasn't even finished his 6 sessions yet. He still has one left. He's, you know, trying to figure out when he uses that one. But he's like just such a profound change from the very first time that I met him to this person standing up and sitting in front of us today. And I can't say enough beautiful things about him and how much I love this beautiful soul right here. So, yeah, I will let him take it away. Quick
How many here are tonight because you think about doing ketamine for PTS? I don't like disorder, PTSD. If I knew then what I know now, I would have done it 10 years ago. I swear to you. I'm gonna start off with 2 things. One thing, my wife is a fucking superhero. She needs to have a cape on her. She's just awesome. She's been by my side for so long. The trauma that I put this woman through. I hate using mics. Did you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I was born in California in 1967. My trauma started because I was molested by a 8-year-old boy, 8-year-old man. My mom and dad's family friends. And he was molesting me and his 5-year-old sister. Had to live with that my whole life, blaming myself for it. It's my fault. It's my fault. What happened was my fault. It wasn't my fault. But still, it's very traumatizing to go through something like that. It's a guy. Moved to Arizona in '79. Went from a surfboard to a tractor. That's traumatizing in itself. Fucking A, man. I met my wife at Wills Junior High School. We've been married 37 years. Woo! Yeah, 37 years. And I sit and I think back of the shit that I've been through and maybe put her through, and it just sickens me once in a while. But my wife's a superhuman. I didn't finish 8th grade because I'm very dyslexic. Had a hard time in school. Went to work, got my GED. Always wanted to be a cop. Always wanted to be a deputy. Always wanted to have a badge. Always wanted to do that. But I was in the landscape industry, and I was making probably, in my 30s, making $120,000 a year, doing consulting for golf courses, resorts, built golf courses in Mexico, built golf courses here in the valley. Studied turf and soil science under Dr. David Kopek at the University of Arizona. Love that man, very knowledgeable man. So what I did when I was working, I went to Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in-house academy. Took about 8-9 months. Got my fun shit, jumped in a car, and worked the streets for free. My wife says you got shot at, bit, stabbed, bled on, for free. And a lot of other bullshit. I've seen burnt babies, burnt grown-ups, suicides, decapitations. And it haunts you. It just haunts you. It haunts you to see a young man that hung himself autoerotic asphyxiation. You know, you walk around the house at 6 a.m., dad finds him, mom's hysterical, and you see this beautiful child hanging from a post. A car accident, and they didn't make it out of the car and they're burned. You know, it sticks you, it fucks with you, it fucked with me horribly. After that, in 2008, I finished my last years up in the aviation. That was kind of cool, in the Sheriff's Office helicopter. I didn't fly as a flight tech, that was a lot of fun. 2008, I woke up one morning, got a cup of coffee, went back to bed, got up again. I had this horrible pain in my side. I was blacking out, passing out. Come to find out, I had a 9mm kidney stone trying to pass through me. Well, yeah, that was sickening. My wife jumped me in the truck and went to Mercy Gilbert Hospital. And they did the procedure 7 o'clock at night. And I woke up out of a coma 6 days later. I spent, I think, 20 days in ICU. I learned how to walk, eat, speak. And I just asked Sandy tonight, I go, is it typical for someone that's in a coma to live? I spent 6 days reliving everything that I went through, being molested, the murders, the suicides, the burnt people. I lived it in a nightmare for 6 days and I could not get out of it. They woke me up and I just wasn't the same. I wasn't the same. I struggled, and come to find out I have seizures now. I have seizures, partial onset seizures, or due to lack of oxygen in my brain from aspirated pneumonia. So as I'm struggling mentally, because I think I'm just a shit show in my head of all the trauma, I spent 10 years, spend thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on. I think I went through 6 therapists, 3 psychologists, 14 pills a day for years at a time. And I always asked therapists and psychologists, I go, how in the fuck are you gonna help me live with what I'm going through when you haven't fucking been through it? How in the fuck are you gonna help me? and they raise their hand in plaques. God bless them, I think that's great. But I have a hard time talking to someone and going, oh, okay, well, how does that make you feel? Or how do you feel today? Or how would your night go? And it didn't work. It just didn't work. I prayed. I went to church. I go to sit through 2 services and just sit there and cry and ask God, what the fuck, man? Where are you? Where the fuck are you, man? I'm okay. He's nudging me because he knows I'm upset. Where's my God? Therapists aren't helping. Psychologists aren't helping. God's not helping. The alcohol sure the fuck's not helping. I spent 10 years struggling and fighting this thing. And I'd listen to my music. I like hardcore music. I like heavy metal music. I'm in like OTEP, Cypri, Gojira, just because I get locked up and I go into a spiral, and I just drink, and I just drink, and I just drink, and I just drink. Lost my nephew to an overdose, my poor brother John. Deal with this, and one day he calls me, he knows my struggles. I told him some of my stories, and he goes, hey, you ever heard of ketamine? I said, yeah. I knew it was a street drug, because I'm doing it. I thought, fucking John. Why? I know your struggles. Oh no, I go to enLIGHTen Wellness, and I do the ketamine, and it's like, he goes, Mike, I swear it's like 50 therapy sessions in an hour. Jesus, man. That'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty fucking awesome. But I just blew it off and just still, I would drink myself so I could sleep, because I'd have nightmares and I'd piss myself and have seizures. Once a week, twice a week sometimes. And I just thought, this is how I'm gonna live. This is it, man. This is the cards that God dealt me, and this is how I gotta live, you know? Therapy didn't work, psychologist didn't work. I hate to say God, I just don't, it's not helping. My mom, read the Bible, put your nose on it, the answers are in the book. Sorry, Mom. So, I got into ketamine, and I went to a couple places, and I live in Chandler. And went to a couple places, and they're very clinical, and I don't like hospitals, because I was in a fucking hospital. I was in a Coleman hospital. Don't like the way they look, don't like the way they smell, don't like the beep beep swoosh, don't like to hear I don't like it. It's traumatizing for me. And I don't want to be in a clinical setting. John goes, oh no, it's like going to a spa. All right, so I blew it off. Drank my drinks and tried to live day to day and make things work for myself. And my beautiful daughter has a beautiful baby, and my wife was babysitting her. It was just me and dog at home, and I decided to listen to some of my rock and roll and have too many martinis like I usually do. And I was puking in the sink. I looked up in the mirror and I said, fuck man, I got nothing left. I have nothing left. I don't. I go, I gotta try it. What do I have to lose, man? I gotta try this. I gotta try this ketamine shit. I gotta do it. So 2 days later, I give them a call. Sandy and I talk over the phone, and making consultation. And Sandy and Troy sat in there with me, and I'm crying and I'm shaking. Dog's upset. I had a stroke, so I shake. I don't know more, which is pretty awesome. I think it's the ketamine. I really do. I couldn't hold a fork. I couldn't hold a glass. I had to sit on this hand and do this and eat and drink sometimes. And the more anxious I got, the more anxiety I had, it'd be worse. I would shake horribly. And I went and visited them, and they spent an hour with me, and I sat there and I cried and I shook and I cried and I shook. And I asked them too. I said, how the fuck are you gonna help me when you haven't been through the shit I've been through? And they go, huh? Let me tell you our stories. And I sat there and listened to her story, his story, and I just kind of felt at home. Well, they've been through traumatic shit. The hospitals, they told me some personal stuff in their life. I'm like, holy shit, they've been through some shit. I've been through some shit. They've done ketamine. Look at them. They're beautiful. They're smiling. They have their wits about them. I want this. I want this. I want this. I need this. I got to give it a fucking shot. So I don't know, maybe 2 weeks later, my wife drove me there, and they told her to go across the street and get a cup of coffee, and I was scared to death, man. I was scared to death. I always, you know these movies, guys take drugs and they can't get out of them, and they're fucking freaking out. I don't want to relive my shit. I don't want to relive my shit. And so we did the cards and the scent and the beautiful vibrating chair, and it was like a spa inside. It's nice, and they gave me the shot, and they gave me a journal, and Troy's right. I'm screaming, I'm swearing. Troy's trying to write all this shit down. And at some point,
I just want to jump in there. When he's saying Troy, he's talking about Sandy's husband, not,
yes.
not me.
No.
I don't think very many people know that.
That's okay. He's writing stuff down. I remember when it really kicked in, I just said, holy fuck. And I'm sitting there and I'm going through this journey in my head. And it was just amazing. Scary too, and amazing, but I'm processing all the shit that I've seen, and it just kind of goes away, There's things in life, you can't see things, you can't hear things, you can't feel things, you can't touch things, you can't taste things. In life, they stick with you. And it's helped me so intensely that my family, my friends are even like, you're a different person. I'm still me, I'm still Mike, but I'm much calmer. I'm not always on edge. I'm not always looking at the door. Who's coming to the fucking door? I can sit with my back to the door now. I'd never do that. I'd be sitting over there looking this way the whole time. I don't do that no more. I just don't have the sense of impending doom. What if? I was always on guard. I was always carrying a gun. I was always doing this shit. I just don't have that no more. If something stressful happens in my life, it's different now. My father died 2 months ago. I handled it very, very well. I had another unfortunate thing in my family that happened. Very, very tragic. Horrible. Handled it very, very well. After it happened 2 days later, I was at the clinic. Not clinic, your practice space, and because it was very traumatic. I got to do a ketamine. Boom, and did my ketamine. It was a journey of I scream. They have me. I go in the nights. I go in the afternoon when no one's there.
It's very loud.
I'm very loud. I'm swearing. I'm cussing. I'm crying. I'm punching the pillow. Everything people just said, that's this motherfucker, man. I just go. My wife sat in with one session with me, and when I came to, the girls are crying. They're crying because there's all this stuff that had to come out. Anyway, it's helped me out tremendously, you guys. That's why I say if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it years and years and years ago to help my mental state. My friends say I'm more, I can speak better now. I used to get stuck in my words because of my head injury. I used to just stutter and wander off in space and stuff. I still do it once in a while, but not near as bad. I don't get this shit. I don't know. I'm shaking a little bit because I'm nervous, but I don't know. I don't get this shit at all.
It's magic.
Yeah. This is worth the ticket for me. This. Because it was because I had a stroke. I had a stroke when I was in a coma.
That's where the neuroplasticity comes from.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Amen. That's awesome.
Can you tell us your favorite thing on a woman and what you see in your journey sometimes?
Boobs.
Boobs. There's so many boobies.
Oh, that was a good run. Even when we're sitting there at the card and I go, oh, a card. I didn't give a shit what it said, but it has boobs on it. A card with boobs. She was, of course. I've been through some horrific, tragic shit that I haven't even told you guys that I don't even want to bring up. But my journey, this has been so successful for me, you guys. Just so successful. I told my wife after my second section, this is what happens once in a while, my second session, If I had Oprah money or something like that, I'd be giving them money to help people all day long. If I can get my fat ass on top of a mountain, I'd scream. Everybody needs to do this ketamine. Everybody needs to try this. If you're suffering, if you're hurting, if you've been in traumatic shit that keeps you up at night, you're pissing you don't have to piss yourself to do it. I mean, if anything that you just can't get it out of your fucking head, or you just can't manage it in your day to day with you guys. You wake up, you think about it. You go to bed, you think about it, man. The walls I built around me were so tall and so deep. I go to therapists and they, okay, guys, good to see you brought out some bricks from your wall. Okay, good. The next morning the wall's taller because I just had a fucking nightmare. I saw the kid burning again. Damn it, motherfucker, man. I couldn't get out of my head. I couldn't. And I am out of my head now. I'm not 100%, I'll never be 100%. But I was 40 before, now I'm good 80 to 95%. I feel really good about myself. It makes a difference when you hear your family and friends go, he's changed. My son-in-law, he goes, man, you're night and day. Night and day. My neighbors, man, you're night and day. My buddy Tom, after my second session, went to go see Tom, I sat down, he made me the Tom Collins. I like Tom Collins once in a while. And I didn't do this. I sipped it. He's like, hey, what's different about you? And I said, I'm doing ketamine. He was like, what? I told him all the story. He goes, good for you, man. Good for you. It's about all I want to say, guys. This is big for me to do. I've never spoken in front of fucking people about this shit. Don't clap for my duck. Clap for you guys for being here, looking for some help if you need help. God bless you guys. I went to therapists. God, all that money I spent, man. I didn't do shit. I went to the Legion in Chandler. They had a vets group. I'm not a vet. There's a vet group, and there's some law enforcement guys in there, and this is what I learned. Don't call me. It may work. It didn't work for this fucker, but ketamine worked. It is working. But you gotta own your shit. You gotta own it. You gotta want it. Don't hit that basement floor. Don't hit that far bottom. But you gotta own it. You gotta want it. And when you do it, do your homework. That's all I have to say, guys.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Are you open to any feedback, questions from the audience or anything? Does anyone have any questions for Mike?
What do you mean do your homework?
Think positive about it. Keep on the right track. If I have had a traumatic situation happen, I put my earbuds on, put on the ketamine music, go lay in bed and reprocess. To me, that's homework. What I haven't done, which I don't want to do, is read my journal, because I don't want to see what I said. But do
integration is everything.
Sir?
Integration is everything.
Yeah. Do your due diligence. If you want it, get it done, and own it. Own your shit.
Was there anything?
Oh no, he had his hand up over there.
Oh.
Yeah. I was just first off, thank you very much for sharing your story. I definitely appreciate that. Also, just interested. So I haven't yet tried ketamine. Any comparison with that? Have you done any psilocybin?
No, I don't. I've never touched a drug in my life.
Okay.
This is a drug.
Sure.
And I'm sworn not to do it. But fuck, when you're scraping your brains off the bottom of your shoes.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I've never done. Well, I can't. Well, I went to a neurologist and they wanted me to get my weed card, so I got my weed card and I tried weed and I'm sorry, you gotta fuck that shit. I can't. If they expect me to stay that stoned, to not have a seizure or issues, I couldn't,
Yeah, I've heard a lot of research, over the last several years, into psilocybin and LSD and all kinds of psychedelics, right? For similar issues as well as anxiety and depression. So I was interested if there's a comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. I know my anxiety is a lot less. My depression's a lot less.
That's amazing.
I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. There's times where I thought about chewing on a gun. I did, but I won't do that because I'm not gonna leave my daughter and my superhuman wife and my friends at my funeral going, this bastard shot himself. I won't. I'd rather live in my own misery rather than do that. That's just my stubbornness or just me being me.
Very glad you tried it and went through
I'm very pleased with it.
Does your pup share the ceremony space with you when you're journeying?
No, because if I started, once I start screaming or hollering, I start with my iron, he'll bark and he'll spin and he'll start tapping because he thinks I'm gonna have a seizure. So, no.
He was there for the very first time we met, though.
Yeah, if I'm alone, dog's with me. If my wife's with me, the dog stays home.
Was there anything that you can think of that surprised you about doing ketamine? Both maybe more challenging than you thought going through this, or things that were maybe easier, or anything that kind of like triggers that question?
I don't know what you mean. I'm sorry.
Like maybe you thought you had X expectations going into it, and that expectation was blown out of the water, positively, negatively, whatever.
My expectation to do this, I thought it was going to be the movie having an 8-hour bad acid trip. And I told him, I said, I don't want this shit. I don't want to be somewhere to where I'm like, I heard, well, I know my buddy Sergi does it, and he does a place in Colorado where he gets the injection, and then girls walk him in, line him up, and they fucking leave the room.
Yep.
Bullshit.
Yep.
Bullshit. I go, and they stay with me as I'm screaming, crying, whatever. If I ever want my hand held, they'll hold my hand. I tell you what experience, that feeling, that touch, your mind just expands. And the one that my wife was in with me, for ketamine music, there's one song, and I go, oh, I like this song. And it was weird. I asked my wife to dance with me. I sat, but she held my hand, and the feeling was just amazing. Just amazing. It's just like your head just explodes. But then after that, the shit comes that you gotta process. I didn't know if I was gonna see it in color. Does that make sense? My ketamine treat when I go through this, I didn't want to see the person that I held that she died. I didn't want to see this, but it was an aura that was there, and I had my hands, and I'm weeping, I'm crying, I'm apologizing, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. And this aura went away, and there was such a profound sense of peace. It was just you're sitting here, and I said, I'm feeling peace in my heart. And now when I'm talking to you guys about it, I know I'm choking up a little bit because I mentioned my wife, because she's fucking me. I'm telling you that I was molested. I'm telling you that I've seen some horrible shit. And I'm not sitting here bawling about it. I'm not sitting here going, man, I wish we had a bar. I wish you had a bar though. But the other day, I'm in my front room and I'm watching YouTube, and I'm playing me some Korn. I got a new band I love called Sleep Token. Oh my God, these guys are insane. Sleep Token. I'm watching their videos, their addiction. My wife sticks her head around the corner and I pop it, and she goes, honey, are you all right? And I go, yeah, I'm fine. She goes, well, this is the stuff you listen to when you start to go downhill. I go, no, I'm just, have you seen Sleep Token, honey? Come here, watch this video. It's just this thing spinning in a circle, and it's just fucking amazing. She's like, okay. And she turned and walked off. But before, if she came home, I mean, there's times where she came home from work, and I'm sitting there just blistered drunk listening to, the guy out of Canada, the fucking guy's amazing. He was a strapping young lad, now he's Devin Townsend Project. And it's loud, and I'm drunk, and she just tries to manage the bowl of being me. And so she's always has that trigger to where when she hears that music, she's like, uh-oh. The popular monster's coming out. But I'm sorry, I go on.
No, I think you brought up something that's really important there within the psychedelic experience, though, about, we talk about integration, we talk about the theory part of it, the journaling, all of that, and I think that's all super key. But it sounded like, and I would echo this, that felt experience, right? That in the moment of feeling that, person's energy there, the sense of peace. I mean, that's not an intellectual concept. That's either something that you feel and experience within you, or you don't, right? And I think that's something that really can't be occasioned necessarily, but it is the critical component to to that work. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, and if you have
Yeah.
anything else to share about that.
Well, like the other, I haven't had a seizure in, I think about a year and maybe a couple months. I haven't had a nightmare. Well, I did, but I'm getting to that in 9-10 months, to where I pissed myself, and I wake up bawling, and I can't get out of bed. I shake the bed, and my wife's got to grab me and and but 2 weeks ago I had a very significant nightmare, and I had a dream that we were adopting children. There's a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy, and he's a little Dutch kid, and I'm Dutch. And I hugged him, and I felt this sense of love, and it was amazing. But then he was next to me on my bed on fire, and I couldn't do nothing about it. And he was slapping my leg, and I got this young boy on fire because it's something I've seen before. And I shook the bed, and Cassie, my wife, woke me up. And she goes, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I just get up because I don't want to go back to bed. But I put my earbuds on, went in my game room, listened to Ketamine 5, which is my first soundtrack. My first session was my favorite soundtrack. And I think I was 2-3 songs in it, and I fell asleep out because I'm processing. And what I did, I'm going to process it, listen to my music, bring me that back, and be done with it.
Any last questions for Mike? Yeah?
I appreciate you sharing everything. It's just been great to hear you and your experience.
Thank you.
I noticed, like, and I say this because I've had the same experience. You sound pretty pissed off at God.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't. Oh, my Lord.
How are you guys working it out?
I'm not. I'm not. I've had 2 very traumatic things happen within my family last year. Gosh, I'm gonna say something, but if there was a God, it wouldn't have happened. That's how I feel right now. And I come from a very, very religious Christian family where my mom was the one and burnt my records back in the 70s, some great Boston Kiss albums. She burnt them and said, "Oh, I see Satan coming out of the fire flame," and she had a cigarette in her mouth and a glass of wine and a Bible, and everybody's going to hell but the Christians, and that's how I was raised. And it's just, I'm so mad at God, because if there was that's how I feel right now. If there was a God, what happened would never fucking happen.
We still got some work to do.
No, my next journey, we already talked about my next one, but I'm gonna, because you go there, what's your goal, what do you want to do today, and you hold it in your hand, and it's been heal, but now I gotta work on another bad habit I gotta get under control.
Beautiful. All right, last question, yeah, Brian?
I just want to say that even though this is your first time speaking about it in front of a group of people, you're an incredible storyteller, and it's an amazing journey, and I really do think that if you felt like it, if sharing this with more people would just be so beneficial to the world.
I told them we're going to take this on the road.
Yeah, let's give Mike and Sandy a big round of applause. Announcements here, so thanks guys, really appreciate you coming out.
You bet, brother.
Excellent story. It's always powerful to hear people's personal stories, right? I encourage you guys to go up and chat with them afterwards. Sandy's got some pamphlets up here for her business if you want to check out that. Really beautiful clinic, all of that stuff. So just a couple of announcements. Next, as I mentioned, next Sunday at the Healing Tree in Tempe, we're going to be doing breathwork and hop A in the afternoon, 2:30. Is that right?
At
1 o'clock. I was wrong. Thanks, Andrea. I'll be there. Andrea will be there. A few others. It's a great event. It's 55, I think, right? To come out for that. It takes a couple hours, 3 hours, something like that. Hop A, for those of you who may not know, it's a shamanic tobacco-based stuff that gets blown up the nasal cavity. It's got some very light psychoactive components to it. We do that after the breath work, so it's kind of got some grounding stuff to it for those of you who haven't done it before. Certainly can chat more about that afterwards. Next Tuesday is our monthly decrim call. It's a online call, so if you guys want to check that out, we've got that posted, I think, and the Zoom link on there. If you guys want to get involved in the local decriminalized movement. And then the following Sunday, the 18th, we've got Integration Circle at Granada Park. We're gonna do that outdoors again now it's getting nice out, so I'd love to have you guys come out to that. That's just a safe space for you to come out and share about your psychedelic experiences. So kind of sort of what we did tonight with Mike on a much smaller scale. So all of that, and then also going to mention 2 opportunities coming up. I'm going to call Andrew up in a sec, but we have 2 retreat options that are coming up in April. It's April, 19th to the 22nd, that 20th, 21st weekend there. I'm going to be hosting a men's retreat. I've got a place rented for us up in Munns Park. We're doing kind of some medicine work and some other supportive work up there. So if that's something that any of you guys want to check out, please come on check with me about that. And then I'll have Andrea come up and share about a retreat she's got going on.
Yeah, just real quick, thank you all for coming and joining us this Monday. It was such a moment of alignment. Troy and I have been a little disconnected over the holidays and things coming up the past month or so. But we spoke the other day, and not only is he hosting a men's only retreat, which is beautiful, I'm hosting a women's only retreat on the same weekend. So I was like, I love this. This is great. It's just bringing in that feminine and masculine divine and supporting our community members with a men's only and a women's only. My weekend will be the 19th to the 22nd in Payson. And this will be a microdosing event where we'll also be working with other medicines such as hape, tobacco bundles. We'll also be doing a medicine hike, drumming, shamanic drumming, also collecting cedar branches and cedar berries to make a cedar salve and cedar bundles. So it's really a whole weekend of various plant medicines, but just deepening the dive with microdosing. Let's see, yeah, so that's my weekend for women only, and it's called Medicine Mamas, really just tapping into our own wisdom as women, that we all have our own medicine. Last thing, as you all know, we are a nonprofit organization, and we help to make some of these events happen by your donation. So please, if you feel inclined to help us out and contributing back into the community so we can keep offering these wonderful events, we've got our little donation bucket up here and a QR code if you want to scan and follow us and or donate that way. That would be wonderful. And any other announcements? Yeah?
Mushroom cultivation class?
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to be doing a mushroom cultivation class that's like multiple weeks because we want to walk people through each step, and actually they'll do their own grow. And so we'll follow the whole process together. At the end, we're also going to offer a cooking with mushrooms class to teach you how to actually use some mushrooms in your food, make it taste good. We're going to grow, we haven't decided the species yet, either Pio or chestnut mushrooms for the class, but it'll be relatable to other things. You know. So that's all. That's going to be the first weekend in March, Saturday in March, and it's going to go for 5 weeks, 5 consecutive weekends. Saturdays at I think it's at 2 p.m. or something, 3 p.m. at a place called House of Hydros. So just, if you're interested, come talk to me, we'll figure it out. But cost, we're still kind of working out how much it's going to be, because we're going to provide everything for you guys. So it's not, it might seem a little expensive, but you're getting value. It's a ton of value compared to other classes we've looked at and what they provide and what they're teaching. This is all-encompassing mushroom growing. So
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely have all the details on our meetup page and our Facebook pages. So continue to follow us, and thank you all for coming out and your support. Good night.